Hi everyone, and thanks so much for joining me for another Sims 3 speed video in Sunset Valley, where I am renovating this world from the ground up. I've done some edits in Creator World, and the Creator World portion is pretty much done, but there are going to be probably some tiny things changing here and there, just depending on the types of community lots that I place. But this is the first, I guess, speed build for the town, or the updated version of the town that I'm putting together, and it's going to be an arcade. Don't ask me why I'm doing an arcade first, but I was actually pondering what on earth what should be the first thing that I build in this town. I had no idea what to build. I was looking through some for inspiration around on Google Maps actually, and yeah, just looking for some inspiration on the types of buildings that I wanted to build, and I was also doing some research to try and get an idea of what Maxis, the inspiration for Sunset Valley was when Maxis was creating it, and it seems like it's more or less I guess like a small Californian town. There was some kind of discussion about it on the internet, not much, but so I mean that's where I started. I was just looking on Google Maps, looking at small towns in California, not towns like super south, but more I guess mid to north California, where it's a bit more green and lush rather than desert. So yeah, I spent a lot of time just looking at random small towns and looking at some buildings and getting some inspiration for what I could build, and then I found a couple of buildings that I liked, and they ended up kind of influencing this build here. And then I was thinking, well, actually one of the buildings looked like a theatre, and I was like, well, I can't build a theatre because there's already a rabbit hole theatre in this town. And so I was just thinking, maybe an arcade, I guess, would be appropriate for a building like this. So it is going to be an arcade, and it's kind of like a retro arcade. It's not a super modern one. Obviously the building's very old, so I wanted to keep the interior kind of retro looking. So some weird patterns on the carpet. Well, it's actually the carpet that I'm using here to just put a flooring on the walls, so I can manipulate them with constrained floor elevation. It's actually the same carpet but recolored. But yeah, some funky carpet and lots of neon lights, some posters on the walls, and yeah, just a good fun time. It's got some some hued lighting, so the lighting's like a purple. Anyway, I'm not going to tell you about it because you'll see it, but that's basically the idea that I had for it. It's also got a coffee shop next to it. Now it's a this is going to sound a bit, I don't know, but it's a self-service coffee bar, and I did that because I could have used the coffee bar that came with University Life, and I have this, I was thinking about to say University or Discover University, but that's The Sims 4. It's University Life. But anyway, it's the coffee bar that came with University Life, and I thought about putting that in here, but I'm just mindful of the performance of this world, and so I don't want to put in a whole bunch of I guess objects that spawn NPCs. I'm not sure if the coffee bar spawns an NPC when it's not on a Java Hut lot, I don't know, but I was just mindful of that, and so I went with a self-service coffee bar. So it's pretty much set up like a normal cafe, but instead of the coffee bar from University Life, it's just got some coffee machines where Sims can just kind of go and help themselves. There's also a vending machine in there as well. So that's one of the things that I am mindful of, or just keeping in mind as I build or renovate this world. One of the unfortunate downsides that I've encountered so far is that I can no longer edit the world in edit in game in Creator World. So I was hoping to do the builds in Creator World, but I can't do that anymore. I just have too much store content installed. And when I say too much, I mean, I started getting issues when I had maybe 1.5 gigs installed, and then Creator World just started crashing. It happens if you just have too much custom content installed, I think through the launcher. Now I could go through and convert all my Sims 3 packs to package files, but that's too much hassle, and then you have to do all that stuff with decrapping and whatever. I just prefer to have the legitimate store content installed through the launcher. And playing with it in game, it's completely fine. I don't really have any issues with it, but it just seems to, like, it bloats I think it's the DC cache folder, the files in there, it kind of bloats them, because I think, like, I don't know if it's a misconception or what, but the launcher actually does merge your store content for you. So it doesn't install every individual item and then have them in individual packages. It actually merges the content. So while the files still remain in there individually, you can actually remove the files and leave the merge package, and all your store content will still be there. Anyway, that's getting into technical stuff that I'm not even really here to talk about. But yeah, so I'm not able to edit in game anymore. So I do have a few workarounds that I can pull out from my sleeve. Hidden up my sleeve, I mean, that I can kind of utilize when I need to edit the world and maintain all my builds. But yeah, so what I've had to do is have a save game actually in game, where I'm going to do all the builds. I'm going to save them and then transfer them over to a Creator World file, which is possible. It's very technical, but I won't explain it. But there is a workaround, if you can't edit in game, to bring all your lots over to a Creator World file. So that's going to have to be my plan. It's a bit annoying because it is convenient to edit in game when editing a world, like using Creator World, but I just have to live with it. And yeah, it's no big deal. Once I figured out the workaround, then yeah, I was feeling a bit better about it, because it was a bit upsetting initially. So yeah, you can see I've put the exterior together now. I think I had about 1 hour and 40 minutes of footage sped up. So I have broken it down just to the most kind of significant parts of the build. So I put the shell, it looks like I've put the shell together quite quickly, but it did take a bit of time for me to figure out the shell and what it looked like and how everything was going to be placed and situated. But overall, this was actually a really fun build to put together, and it's made me more excited to just do more builds in this town. Like I love Sunset Valley so much, and just being able to do this is so incredible. And I'm still on such a high when it comes to building in The Sims versus playing. Like, I do play in the game as well, but lately I've just been more interested in building. So yeah, I'm just not sick of it yet. Whereas I used to get, like, I always kind of enjoyed building in The Sims, but then I always used to get kind of antsy when I would build, and then I'd be like, oh, now I want to play in these builds. But at the moment, I'm just having fun taking my time with the builds, and I'm not really that keen on getting back into gameplay just yet. So it's an unusual kind of situation that I'm in, and well, when it comes to this game anyway. Same with The Sims 4 as well. Like, I'm having so much fun building in that game, but I am playing it a little bit, but for the most part I'm just having fun building up or doing the renovations that I'm doing in that game. Now, if you watched my Sims 4 video yesterday, you would have noticed that I said I was sick in that video. Like, I'm still sick and my voice still sounds a bit nasally and just gross, but I am getting better. But yeah, I've listened to some footage or some of my voiceover already, and I still sound a bit sick. So if you're wondering why I sound different, that's why. Not much I can do about it, I'm afraid, but I am getting better. It's actually like, I started getting sick on Saturday. And it is now Friday night, and I'm feeling my energy levels are back to normal. I just still have a little bit of a cough, and yeah, I guess I just sound a bit crappy, but other than that, I feel pretty good. Like, I've been working from home all this week. I had a half day on Monday and Tuesday because I would have preferred to take the whole day off, but there was just way too much work to do, so I had to take half days instead, which I'm grateful I was able to do. That was my own choice as well. I wasn't told I had to take a half day. I said, like, there's just stuff I have to do. I'll take a half day and work from home for the rest of the week. So talking about the build, because I haven't really done much of that. I've kind of just been talking about admin-y stuff. But we've got two buildings here, and the one on the right is going to be where the cafe is, and the one on the left is going to be the arcade. They're very kind of old looking buildings, and I mean, I prefer building old buildings. Like, I do like doing modern buildings as well, but I prefer these types of buildings. I feel like they just have more character, and they're always nice to look at in real life, so I like doing them in The Sims. Probably the most difficult thing that I experienced with this build was just putting the shell together, was just the amount of constrained floor elevation that I did. There's one freeze level that I can see right now, and I think there's a freeze level on top of the cafe, and then the arcade has a couple of towers on it, and they're different heights. So yeah, there was a lot of manipulation that I had to do with constrained floor elevation, and yeah, that was just a bit of a pain. One of the things that I actually discovered when I was doing this build, because it's custom content free, I usually have in my custom content folder an object that you can place over floor edges to hide the floor edges. If you place floor over a balcony or something, then you can see the floor edge. Now, you can recolor that in this game, but I still think it looks pretty ugly. But then I discovered these things here from Into the Future, and while they kind of have this light on them that you can sort of get rid of by recoloring the light part to black, they do cover up floor edges really nicely, and they are recolorable. So when I found these, I was actually ecstatic, because we actually have some of these types of things in The Sims 2, but not at for the longest time. I thought we didn't even have them in The Sims 3, so I was downloading custom content versions of them, and when I discovered these, I was so happy that I could cover up the ugly floor edges. And so you can see me doing it here. I've done it on both buildings, and yeah, it's such a nice little detail that you can add to a build. It just makes things look a bit more finished. Whereas when you have like an exposed floor edge, like, yeah, I said you can recolor it, but still, like, the recoloring looks weird, and it still looks kind of ugly. So yeah, super stoked about those. This building is pink and green. I'm just trying to think like the style it is. It looks like a building that would have been built maybe in the 20s or 30s, so it might be a little bit Art Deco, but it's not like hugely typical Art Deco. It's got some interesting features to it. So it's got this kind of crest up the top and in between the two towers, and then it's got the tower itself. A little bit later, I come and put a spire on the tower, and that just adds a bit of extra detail there, and just makes the build, it elevates the build, so to speak, quite nicely, both figuratively and literally. I was kind of worried that this building, because when I had it in mind, I was worried that it was going to be too tall and that it might kind of overshadow the town hall, but it doesn't. Like, it's fine. It's tiny compared to the town hall. So when I started putting the tower together, I was like, oh, I have nothing to worry about. Like, it's perfectly fine. Now, this build does use store content. Not a whole heap, but it does use a couple of, actually one of the items that I used is free, so that's a bonus. but it uses stuff from Roaring Heights. It uses the Gumball machine. Just jumping in to say that I got the store content list wrong. I actually used Roaring Heights, the Deliciously Indulgent Bakery, Olympian Physique, Midnight Hollow, the Gumball Machine, and the Regency Arcade, but I think those two things actually come together. Well, the Gumball Machine comes with the Regency Arcade. Earth Day, which is free, and Hogan's Deep Fried Diner Starter Kit. So yeah, if I've left anything else off, please let me know and I'll add it to the list in the description. Yeah, that's it from me. I will let you get on with the rest of the video. And a plant from the Earth Day set, which is free. I'm pretty sure it's free. And it also uses tables and chairs from the diner set, the set that was ripped from The Sims 2. But it uses stuff from that set, and it also uses stuff from, well, I think only one plant from the Regency Arcade. Now, I think it uses stuff from Midnight Hollow, and I'm not entirely sure, and I had trouble finding out if that was the case. The walls that I've used on the arcade building, I have no idea where they came from. It says that they're store content in game, and then I looked at the name of the wall, and some of the walls don't even have names. It's really weird, but I looked at the name of the wall and I googled it to see where it was. Nothing came up. I even went to, because it kind of looks like a set from Midnight Hollow. It's part of like a set that goes with like Victorian siding and stuff like that, with cornices and all this kind of elaborate detail on it. And I couldn't find it. I looked under Midnight Hollow to see, if any wall textures came with that world, but they don't. And well, they weren't listed on there, so I really don't know where these walls came from. It must be from a world though, because there's a whole set of, a huge set of them, and the only place I can think of that amount of wall coverings could come from is a world. You could have seen just then that I was trying to figure out what to use as the sidewalk path, and then I was like, what's been used around town? So I went and quickly stole a texture from Mirabello Plaza and then came back. Anyway, so yeah, I just couldn't figure out where these walls came from, and I went to the store and went to the build section to see if they sell any walls, but they don't. There is one set of walls that I got from a featured look. I think it's the is it Sandy Shoals? There are some shingled sidings that come from that Sandy Shoals. I think it's called Sandy Shoals featured look, and so I know the store does include walls as part of store sets, but yeah, I just couldn't figure it out. So I'm sorry if you don't have the set and you download this lot. And it doesn't have the right walls on it, but yeah, I did my best to try and find them, and I'm just I'm completely stumped as to where they came from. But I used them anyway because they looked really good, and yeah, they recolored quite nicely. So now this is probably the first set that first lot that I've built that has no custom content in a very, very long time. I usually play with custom content in The Sims 2 and The Sims 3 just because they are older games, so if you want any sort of more modern looking assets or anything like that, then you kind of have to go with custom content. And so I was a little bit worried when I started doing this that I would kind of get a bit frustrated because I couldn't quite find the item that I wanted, because usually when that happens I'll just go and look for it in custom content, and then I usually have no trouble finding it or whatever. But I surprised myself quite a bit that I was able to improvise a bit with a lot of the things that I did, especially with the building, or the buildings, because they're two buildings joined. But I was pleasantly surprised with what I was able to put together. Firstly, because I usually have a custom content cornice installed, and because I'm playing with no custom content, I didn't have the cornice So instead of a cornice, I used a fence up the top there of the cafe or the coffee shop. And that looks just as good in my opinion, like it's fine. I don't even know if I would go back to custom content now, just because sometimes it is just like it's fine to appreciate the content that's already there and just make do with it and just be creative with making it, manipulating it however, or to the best of your ability to what you want, how you want it to look. So it's a bit of a challenge, but a fun challenge nonetheless. Now we're moving on to the interior, and this, I kind of gloss over the floor plan a bit. This was a bit of a struggle to put together. So you'll see me kind of put an initial floor plan together, and then I completely scrap it and start over because it just wasn't working. I was trying to figure out the best placement of the arcade machines. I also have like a fake not reception but counter area, I guess, where, because at arcades, there's kind of like a place where if you win tickets you can go and redeem prizes and all that. So I wanted to include something like that. And then when I decided that I wanted to do that, I had already put the initial floor plan down, so I kind of tried to put this counter space in the top right corner, but it wasn't by the entrance. And when I have like front desks or counters or things like that, I usually try and have them close to the entrance. It just doesn't really seem that efficient for like a front desk or a counter to be all the way at the back of a building. So I'd put the floor plan together like that, and then it just seemed so impractical, and I was like, this sucks, so I'm going to start again. But I left this footage in here so that you could see the decorating process, or some of the decorating process anyway, and the color schemes that I've chosen, because these pretty much stay throughout the arcade build. And here I am placing all the games. I don't place every single game that I have installed, I just placed a select few because there wasn't really much space. And I mean, that's okay, it's a cute little arcade, it does the job. But I did want all the major ones in there. So I wanted that basketball one to be in there. I wanted the I don't know the proper name for it. Whenever I see that machine, I think of the claw from Toy Story. But that machine, there's the gumball machine, which I struggled with the placement of that for so long. Like, I don't know if I've left all the footage in here, but you might see the gumball machine just move all about the place. And there's just some typical arcade machines and some pinball machines as well. And we've got the tabletop machines too. I thought I placed the Whack and Gnome game, but I don't think I did place it in this arcade. I might save that for somewhere else, because I didn't want to do all the arcade machines here. I think I might save the Gnome machine for one of the festivals, and I'll see about that. Otherwise, I might come back here and place it. I feel like it's a fun game to have, like it's got unique animation, so I do like to place it or use it in my worlds. But I'll just have to see about where I put it. So the initial decorating that I did here for the counter, I was going with more of a modern kind of sleek vibe, and then I changed my mind quite quickly because I realized that this is an older building and I wanted things to look a bit dated, so I quickly replace it. I'm just playing around with the color schemes of things, and believe it or not, those counters are not purple, they're actually just reflecting the carpet. I thought when I placed them, I was like, oh wow, geez, these counters really match the carpet so well, like, gosh, how good is that? But then I realized that they were just reflecting the carpet, because I can't remember, I think I might have moved them, and then they immediately changed color, and I was like, oh damn. Because sometimes I do just use the default colors or the default swatches. So you can see on those chairs that I've used on the tabletop counters, tabletop games, that I just changed the metal. I think that the fabric I left the same, because yeah, sometimes the default swatches are fine. And the sectional sofas that I used in here, I just used the default swatch because it looked fine, so I didn't really see any reason to change it. And it's just more convenient. Like, it can be a bit tedious to recolor every tiny little thing. It just takes, it's very, very time consuming. So if I can avoid doing it, then I will. And yeah, so I've pretty much rearranged the entire arcade now. So we've got the counter in the center, and it's on a platform just to make the space look a bit more interesting and dynamic. And then I've got these like neon features on the wall. They're kind of like neon lights. They're not actual lights. They don't function as lights, but they're just like a wall piece, wall decor that look like neon lights. I believe they came with Showtime. So I've got those around the place. Then I'm just figuring out the placement of all the arcade games now that I have readjusted the floor plan. And yeah, I do come in a bit later and take off some of these neon, these are horizontal neon lights for some vertical ones. And yeah, so I'm just sectioning off the counter and checking it out. I do this thing and when I build, and it's kind of annoying when I edit the footage, but sometimes I'll just place one tiny little thing and then I'll zoom out and scroll all around to see how that one tiny little thing looks from like a distance. Like, I know why I do it. I just want to see like how that whatever I've just done looks amongst everything else. And so yeah, I'll zoom out and then look at it from all different angles. But yeah, it's really is a pain to edit that because I try and make the footage as smooth as possible. So I take out, a bunch of the pauses. I take out a lot of the footage of me just scrolling through the catalog. And I try and have as minimal cuts as possible, unnecessary cuts really. And so when I do encounter footage of me just kind of zooming out and scrolling all around to look at one tiny little object and how it looks amongst its surroundings, it just really irritates me. And then I think to myself, why did I do that? I really need to stop doing that when I build because it is so annoying to edit. So yeah, just a pet peeve of mine, my own pet peeve that I create for myself. But the last few details are coming together. Unfortunately, I did experience a crash with this build. It was kind of my fault. I didn't have NRUS saver installed, and so I wasn't saving very often. And yeah, I did experience a crash after about, it would have been a couple of hours of building. So that was really annoying. But I mean, as annoying as crashes are, I'm able to put things together really quickly because, a lot of time spent is the decision-making process. A lot of time spent building is the decision-making process where you're kind of taking pauses and moving stuff around, until you settle on something. But once you have to do it again, you kind of just know how everything goes because you've made all those decisions. So it comes together really quickly. But most of the arcade is done. I don't think I have anything else left to do with the arcade. I'm moving on to the coffee shop now. So as I said at the beginning of the video, this is a self-service coffee shop. Also I didn't mention as well that I haven't furnished or decorated the upper levels. They are hidden away. So I put hidden room markers up there, and I also put skip level markers so you won't even see any of the upper levels, and that's again for performance reasons because I do want this world to run efficiently. So if I can avoid decorating or furnishing something, then I will. But yeah, anyway, putting this together, and it's got some nice bright colors. So I wanted to do some bright kind of retro colors in the coffee shop just to complement the retro theme of the arcade. And yeah, so it's very simple. So I put a couple of vending machines. In the end, I only go with one vending machine because I did decorate, and we've got a couple of coffee machines there too. I did decorate this, and when I came back to do some panning shots, I thought that it looked a little bare, and so I came in and added some bookshelves, and in order to do that I had to take away one of the vending machines. I'm just mindful when I place things like vending machines and tables and chairs that I do with move objects off, so that I know if the object will work or not. And when I came back and revisited this part of the build, the coffee shop, I took one of the vending machines out just because it wasn't fitting. Like, yeah, with move objects off, I couldn't place it anywhere. So we are finishing up, well, not finishing up, we're actually getting to the end of the video. Now, this is actually the first time I did use the Sims 3 decorator tools for this build, and it's the first time I've used it, and you will see a bit of it. I do it at the very end, and I also used some debug clutter that actually the person who created the Sims 3 decorator tools, I'll actually leave a link to it in the description, also added some, made some kind of downloadable clutter, and it's not considered custom content. Apparently the game doesn't consider it custom content. When I was looking through the debug catalog, the clutter wasn't showing as custom content, so if you download it and you don't have the clutter mod installed, then that's fine. Like, it should show up in game for you anyway. But yeah, so I did some decorating with the decorator tools and the debug clutter, not heaps, because again, like, I don't want things to be super cluttered. Like, I prefer simply decorated builds anyway, but also just, it is the Sims 3, it can't handle super detailed lots, so I didn't do a ton of clutter, but you will see that coming up, and it's very interesting to use. Actually, I think, is this it now? I think it is now, yeah, because you can see the mugs that I placed on the floor. But it's very interesting to use. It kind of reminds me of decorating in The Sims 4. You'll see these, where I'm having to kind of move objects out of the way and then kind of have them floating in the air and placing like the surfaces back. That's very much how I clutter, or how people clutter in The Sims 4. Just I guess the benefit of doing it, well, I'm grateful we can do it in The Sims 3 now, but I guess the difference between The Sims 3 decorator tools and The Sims 4 is that to do it in The Sims 4, you can snap an object to a slot, and then when you hold Alt and move the object off the slot, it stays floating at the same height as the slot, and then you can kind of free place it anywhere. So it's a very similar process to that, so it's super cool, and I'm definitely going to keep using this mod, but yeah, just in a limited manner. I'm not going to go super crazy with it. So yeah, just added some mugs, and I guess some, I think I added like a debug love note or something on the table there, just so it looked like the cafe was kind of, or the coffee shop was being used, and not just, just like those kind of small details that I think just enhance the build. Also added some plungers to the bathrooms, and added a plant up here on the counter next to the coffee machines, and then I just placed a few extra mugs next to the coffee machines. I probably should have put in like a sink, but I mean, I'm pretty sure the coffee mugs don't need to be cleaned in this game, so it's, that doesn't really matter. I'm just putting on a ceiling in the arcade, so a very dark ceiling, and then adding in a sign for the front of the arcade. You can see I finally found a home for the gumball machine, and then, you can actually see some of the build at night time, but I just wanted to put some lights in these kind of archways, and I made those purple, and then you can see some of the build at night, which looks quite nice. So the lights have a purple hue to them. And this is the part of the build where I came in and put in a bookshelf, because even with the little bits of clutter, I still felt like the coffee shop looked quite bare, so it just needed a bookshelf, or a couple of bookshelves. And I wanted them to look a little more built in, especially with the cabinets that I had. So I moved these vending machines out the way, and then did a little, messing around to get this bookshelf look like it was more built in rather than just a standalone bookshelf. But yeah, I was just having, this is kind of where I was, once I'd kind of, moved the bookshelf, I was thinking, well, what do I do with these vending machines? And I did like this stupid thing where I was going to have like a bookshelf with a built-in vending machine, but that was just ridiculous, and I'm glad I did not go down that route. But yeah, I've got a couple of bookshelves here. One of them I sunk into the ground a little bit so that it didn't stick out the top of the cabinets. But yeah, you can see I'm doing a whole heap of different stuff here, a whole heap of different things, just with placement so that I can try and get it to look good. I did end up recoloring the vending machine, but I do move it in front of the door because that door is useless. And yeah, so here we are with the panning shots of the build, and so I'm going to let you enjoy these and say thanks so much for watching. It's been a pleasure to bring this to you. So this is available to download, and I've uploaded it to my Google Drive. There is a link for it in the description. It is a 19 by 35 lot, so a very unusual lot size. Now the final version of Sunset Valley will be coming soon, but it's not available yet, so if you want to play with this lot, then you kind of have to make space for it in your own world. But I didn't have any time to playtest this lot, so if you do encounter any issues, please let me know and I will come and fix them. So yeah, that's all from me. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, and I will talk to you later. Just one more thing, I forgot to say that the lot is called Joystick Junction. Okay, bye.